everyone. I am very excited to finally be sharing a new time-lapse video with you. I've finally finished a new painting. I have so many works in progresses, but this one is complete and I get to finally share it with you. This one is for the Harry Potter show at the Zapow Gallery that opens next week Friday, which will be March 24th. I'm going to do my best to actually physically be in attendance for that Harry Potter show, but if not, she was shipped out today and will be there if you'd like to see the finished product in person and support the local arts. So if you notice, this painting was done directly on raw wood. There was no gesso layer, no primer at all. And I just kind of wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I discovered being the first time I painted on raw wood. And the first thing that I want everyone to know, if you've never done it before and you're considering it, be ready for the wood to be very absorbent. This, I found that my painting dried very, very fast, and it was different because I'm used to painting on canvas or some sort of prime board, and oil paints are famous for taking days, sometimes weeks to dry, but having it paint directly on the raw wood, the wood was absorbing so much of the oil that it actually did not take very long to dry, and this worked for me and against me in several ways. So that's just something, it's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing that it dries faster, because sometimes I'd go to blend something and it was already dry, and other times I needed it to dry really quickly and it did, so it worked out really well. So it's just something as an artist you want to know about, like the behavior that oil has on the wood panel ahead of time, or just keep in mind as you're painting. It's important to really know the materials and get to know them intimately so that you can use them to the best of their abilities. Another thing I noticed when working with the wood, the raw wood, was that it was really nice to have a warm base to work on, but also sometimes if I didn't put down a lot of layers of the oil paint, the wood grain would kind of show through in certain areas, and this actually gave it a really interesting effect, I thought. So there were certain areas where I specifically chose to leave lighter layers of paint so that the wood grain would show through a little bit. If you're looking really closely into some of the shadows around her nose, you do see the wood underneath, and I just think it gives it a really interesting kind of something else. Instead of it just being like a white background, it just gives it more dimension and depth, and I really did enjoy that. But if that's not what you're going for and you're painting on wood, it might be a good idea to actually prime or gesso the canvas ahead of time, or just make sure that you are painting very thick layers. Another wonderful thing that I noticed when painting on the raw wood was that even though there was still the texture to the wood, it was a lot less noticeable when I would take a picture as a canvas would be. When you take a picture of a canvas or scan a canvas when it's done, a lot of the times if you don't have a very smooth canvas, you do see a lot of the woven grain of the threads and fibers that are in the canvas that make up the canvas. With the wood, I felt like it instantly had a much smoother finish. So for me, who likes to make prints, this was a great alternative to the canvas because I didn't have to go in after the fact and edit out all the texture that I didn't want. Also, it didn't require several layers of gesso ahead of time in order to have that smooth finish. So sometimes that is something I find myself needing to do with canvas or something else that has a rougher surface, is doing the several layers of gesso. With this, I didn't need to. It just came out smooth all on its own, so that was definitely a plus for the painting on raw wood. Another thing that I think is really important to take into consideration when you choose to paint on raw wood as your surface is another thing that has to do with its super absorbency. At the end, when I went to varnish this painting, it actually took several layers of varnish, and I found that it was not even in its absorption. And what I mean by that is when I went to varnish this painting, after the first layer, there were certain areas where the varnish had absorbed more than it had in others. So it's kind of splotchy, and I was able to fix that by doing a second layer of varnish. However, because I was using a satin varnish doing the double layer, it ended up looking more glossy. So I would possibly recommend doing a matte layer of varnish until you know how the wood behaves and what the right amount of varnish is for you and for your painting. So definitely in the future, as I go into doing more paintings on raw wood, I will definitely experiment with more matte and see how the varnish behaves there. But all in all, I really enjoyed the surface of the raw wood. It was kind of a wonderful change from having the primed surfaces that I've been on. It's just got such a nice texture, and it does take a little bit of getting used to having the oil paint absorb so quickly and dry fast. But once I did, I really did enjoy the process, and am definitely looking forward to painting on raw wood again. So guys, if you've got any questions about this painting that I did not cover in the topic, feel free to ask below in the comments, and I'll make sure to answer your questions in a future video. Again, this painting will be on display starting March 24th. We are doing the big group show starting March 24th at Zapow Gallery in Asheville, and I will do my best to physically be there. And hopefully I'll get to meet some of you, so that would be absolutely wonderful. And I've already had a couple of you reach out to me on my Facebook page about whether prints will be available. And yes, prints will be available on my website in my prints shop. So go to www.whitneypaigeart.com, click on prints, and Hermione will be there, Our Lady of Time. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in prints. I usually do prints in 8.5 by 11 and 11 by 14. So guys, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to this video so I can continue to put out content for you. It's just something I love to do, and I'm super excited anytime you guys comment or subscribe or anything like that. Alright guys, happy weekend. Love you. Bye.